You are watching the Nothing Podcast with Nobody Important, where a group of nobodies speak to an actual somebody. And now your hosts, John and Frank.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm John.
I'm Frank.
And you are listening to the Nothing Podcast
with Nobody Important. Man, today we have family on this show.
It's funny that it's like, you were learning things from people who we thought we knew so well. We really didn't know anything about the history of what we're going to talk about.
Right. So today we have founding members of the Rockaway Theatre Company, which is an organization that is very near and dear to our hearts.
Yes.
You'll hear about it in the episode. We also want to give a special shout out today. Not only do we have Adele and Danielle here, love them, right?
Always.
But we have our only recurring audience member on the podcast, Tony, who sat in season
two, yeah,
Insectivora, the episode of the woman from the freak show at Coney Island. So Tony is our only audience member. He has a special place in our heart, and he will always have a special place in our studio.
And you're not going to see him.
No, because he doesn't want to be on camera.
No, but today we got into talking about theater, which is something that we love. And if you're listening to this show, likely you also enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not so cut and dry theater. It's like the importance of it and community, and obviously listen to the show and you'll get all of it. But it was really an interesting talk for sure.
Yeah, this is an episode with big personalities. Also a new thing for us. We have 3 guests. Never had it before. It's great.
Absolutely.
So I guess without further ado, curl your construction paper beards.
Google Vincent Gardenia.
Shut up a baby for a minute.
And get your tickets to see the Flying Gilleeces.
Oh, I love that show. Were they like the Wallendas?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. But they didn't fall as much.
No.
Okay.
No.
Rest in peace, the Wallendas.
Yes.
Okay, so without further ado, here they are.
I'm Susan Jasper.
And I'm Peggy Page.
And I'm John Gilleece. And we're members of the executive board of a community theater.
Okay, everybody, here we are. We're here with John Gilleece, Peggy Page, and Susan Jasper.
How's it going, guys?
How are we?
Good.
Great.
Thanks.
Excellent.
For having us.
Susan's an audio program. She's just nodding. Yes.
Okay, so we know that you might not be 100% comfortable with this, especially Susan. So to get you ready, we're going to play an icebreaker.
We're going to break that ice.
The rules are this. Do as well as you can, and if you don't, it doesn't matter. So here's the game. We know John and Susan do. Not sure about Peggy, but you two watch Jeopardy every night. And Peggy also. And we know that you are all avid New York Times Sunday crossword players. So, that being said, appreciating your knowledge of gaming, we're going to ask you, how many television game shows can you list in 1 minute? Adele, 1 minute on the clock, and go. Television game shows.
Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune.
Match game.
Love it.
Price is Right.
Sure.
Concentration.
Yeah.
This is all of us.
Who wants to be a millionaire?
Hey, good.
What else?
I think I'm done.
6.
Wait. Name that tune.
7.
Wheel of Fortune.
Sure.
You said that already.
Double.
Price is Right.
I
Yes.
said that.
She said that also.
Wait. What's the one with the whammies? The whammies. What's that?
What's that?
America's Funniest Home Videos.
Okay, not a game show,
game show.
Susan. Thank you for participating.
What's the whammy show?
What's the whammies?
No whammies.
No whammies.
We just call it no whammies.
Adele, how much time is left?
19 seconds.
Okay,
The
let's
longest
go.
19 seconds of my life.
Let's go. Any more
The
game
dating
shows?
game.
Of
Yes.
course.
Dating.
The match game.
What about the weakest link?
Of course.
Weakest link. I love the weakest.
Yeah.
The Bachelorette.
Okay.
Who do you trust?
Oh, who do you trust?
Who do you
Sure.
trust?
I was on that show.
What?
$1 million
Tell you
pyramid.
later.
$1 million pyramid?
Yeah.
$1 million pyramid. How about To Tell the Truth?
To tell the truth, very good. What was it, like 15?
Wow.
Beat Shazam? What was
I've got a secret.
What? Oh, yeah.
It's Press Your Luck.
Press your luck. Press your luck.
Press your
It
luck.
used to be called I Got a Secret.
Is that right?
Yeah,
No.
well, that's what it was called. I
What?
Got a Secret.
I got a secret. Had nothing to do with Press Your Luck.
Oh, but
No.
there was an I Got a Secret.
I just said that.
Yeah.
I got a secret.
Yeah.
Gary Moore.
You guys
Sure.
did well, but not that great. Merv Griffin would be very upset.
Oh, yeah.
You wouldn't win the
Ask me
Winnebago.
the names of the slot machines in the casino. I got that covered.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's fine. That's totally fine.
Sure.
So I hope your ice is broken. Welcome.
Yes.
Actually, John, I
As
would
long as
like to
our
hear.
water's not broken.
No. I know I just said welcome, but I would like John to open up. Can you give us a good welcome, please? I know that's your catchphrase.
Welcome.
There
Yeah,
you go.
there it
Excellent,
is.
excellent. And I said we weren't going to do that, and we did it.
So you secretly mocked me for this. I understand.
No. I said I wasn't going to do it
I
because
mock myself.
That's just a trademark thing.
It is. It's a trademark thing.
So we should explain to the audience who are not familiar with who you guys are. Where you said you're in our intro. You said that you were on the executive board of a community theater. That's super important. Obviously, super close to Frank and I. And so we're going to get into
Also
that.
Danielle, who's a part of this.
Also Danielle, of course.
Adele also.
But I want to just tell the audience a little bit about where we got you, where we got you guys from. I was going to say where we dug you guys up
standing
from.
at the bus stop.
I didn't mean it in that way. I meant like where we got you guys
I was
from.
standing at the bus stop, and these two guys came over and said, "Hey, you want a free dinner? Come to my house." So I
Incidentally,
went. I'm hungry.
Susan Jasper said, "I don't want to do this. I'm not talking." Hasn't stopped talking. Good.
And we didn't even give you dinner.
I'm waiting for it to be over so we can go to Applebee's.
So how do we know them? That's the question, right?
Yes. Answer it.
Oh, you want me to answer it? Well, you started. Okay. So the theater company we're talking about is obviously the Rockaway Theatre Company, as loyal Nothing Podcast listeners will know.
That's correct.
We talk about it all the time.
Yep.
This is our extended family, which they don't know. We've known each other for many, many years. I don't know. I've known you maybe for almost 20 years.
Yes.
And John, 15?
12.
Close enough, right? So who wants to tell us what the Rockaway Theatre Company is in 30 seconds or less? They all nudge John, the artistic director.
For the last 24 years, the Rockaway Theatre Company has meant to the Rockaway community, anyway, and a chance to escape, be uplifted, be enthralled, and be entertained in a way they never would have expected a long time ago. They can come to the theater, pay no price for parking, pay a minimal amount, and see a Broadway quality show. It's good for single people. It's good for families. Kids, too, have a lot of fun there. And we intend to have our show mean something to them, so we allow the audience to mingle with the actors on their way out. They get to see and touch and talk to their favorite
Touch
people.
is a big part of that.
Yeah. It's bringing Broadway to Rockaway.
Yeah.
And in a very personal way, in a way that encourages more people to come. And we have been growing in popularity for the last 24 years.
So you can't get a more perfect answer than that, right? There's a lot I want to dig into in that answer, right? Obviously over the course of this episode. For those of our listeners who are not even in New York,
Right.
Frank, why don't you give us just a little background? What is Rockaway? When we say Rockaway, what does that mean? And I say that because I think there's a Rockaway wherever you live. Wherever you're listening to this, there's a Rockaway. In that, what it represents and what it is. Frank, try to see if you can do that.
Sure. So I think, as someone who doesn't live in Rockaway but goes there a lot, that the Rockaways is a peninsula in Queens, and it's a very tight-knit, small-ish community where everybody knows everybody, basically, and there's like a main street with a bunch of stores, and you're like 45 minutes out of Manhattan, but it feels like you're somewhere else. It's a beach community. That's important to know. That's part of the identity of it.
Right.
It's gained a lot of popularity with like the hipster community who now ferry and bus over in the summers. And
there's a funny story about the theater. There was the only double-decker movie theater on the east coast of this country on Beach 116th Street in Rockaway Beach.
that's like one of the main streets.
That's where we started.
Yeah, and that's where a small group of people started a theater company, which wasn't even formally a theater company. They put on a few plays there in the remains of this double-decker movie theater, right, Peg? You remember those?
When you say double-decker, there was like a balcony, you mean?
There was another movie theater on top of the lower one.
A twin cinema, the first twin cinema.
Yeah,
Really?
That's why your eyes should have bugged out when I said that.
Right.
And you
Sure.
said it again.
Okay.
A double-decker movie.
Wow. A reaction, an audio reaction from our audience, please.
Yes, please.
It was a twin cinema. Because John and Peggy are both twins. That's why they picked a twin cinema.
Of course.
I'm starting to realize why.
But not with each other, audience.
we're not-
They're not twins with each other because they don't look alike.
They don't look like they're twins either.
I distracted you, though. I'm sorry.
Not at all. No, not at all. So that's kind of what I'm saying. It's like, right. So this wasn't something that needed to exist. It's something that does exist and has become necessary.
Yes.
That comes from you guys. Now, this is why I wanted to have you in here. Not just because you're important to us and that you're how Frank and I met, and more importantly, you're how Danielle and I met.
It's rude.
She's my wife. It's rude. I don't have a child with you, Frank.
You owe us big time.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's not the only reason why I wanted to have you in here. It's because community theater means so much to me, and I think there's a stigma about it that I want to address. I think there's an importance level of it I want to address. There is a social understanding part of it that I want to address, and all of this comes down to I want to know why somebody starts and runs something like this that they dedicate so much time to, and I want to know where the drive for you guys comes from to do something that ultimately changed our lives so much and so many other people's lives so much.
John, it made me cry.
Thanks.
Really?
Well,
I would say there are really two reasons why you start a theater company like that. One is having no life at all.
Okay.
And two is being insane.
Okay.
If you put those two together, you've got a theater company.
Yeah, that's very valid. That's
Peggy's
very
nodding,
valid.
yes.
I think that's part of the reason you do it too.
Well, that's it. I was in the middle of getting a divorce. I had no life. I had no friends.
She still doesn't.
I didn't have
24
anything
years
to
later.
do, anything social to do.
Right.
Friends were doing a play on 116th Street at the Park Theater, and they knew I'd love to do hair and makeup and stuff, and they said, would you like to help? Well, I went in there and I started doing hair and makeup. Next thing you know, I'm helping with costumes. I'm making sets. The stage manager quit. They said, Peggy, could you stage manage? I said, sure. I didn't even know what a stage manager was.
Right.
But I said, sure. Because everybody was so nice and so friendly. It was like I found my new family. And that's how I got started. Never did theater in my life.
Right.
Didn't know I could. And when that show closed, they were doing another show, and they said, Peggy, you're going to be so-and-so. I said, well, I don't sing, I don't dance. You hear this voice? They said, you can do it. And I did it, and I got hooked.
And the rest was history.
The rest was history. And then John came in.
I have a different way of getting there.
Sure.
My twin brother, my identical twin brother, even though Susan says that we were never identical twins, but I know that we were at one time.
They don't really look alike.
He was born
We've
like
all seen it.
500
they
years
do.
ago when they didn't know how to tell if the
So
children
you're
were
saying John predates genetic testing
correct.
and DNA.
So the doctor said, yeah, they're identical. They're not.
Okay.
I think
just
you
guessed.
look alike for what it's worth.
But you could just let me get back on track here with that.
Peggy's a twin, but she admits that she's not identical to us.
Susan,
She admits it.
let him answer the question.
Go ahead.
Susan Jasper, the Amtrak of the interview, constantly derailing.
All right, so let's go back to remind you that John is a twin. Yes, I am. An identical twin. And so, of course, we called ourselves the Gilleece twins. Duh,
Sure.
yes. And the Gilleece twins began their career in theater at age 6. And there's a whole set of stories that goes along with that.
Back on the Orpheum
I have
circuit.
been... we parlayed that
Sing out,
early.
John.
So again, yes.
Those early days, we parlayed into a brand-busting worldwide career, the Gilleece twins.
Sure.
Which then immobilized us and collapsed upon itself. I've always been involved in theater, I guess, is a long way around saying this. And often with my twin brother, that's how we began. But then eventually, twins separate for various reasons, and I began to do things on my own. So when I came to Rockaway, I just moved to Rockaway about 1995, 1996. I heard there was this theater company. I said, I must investigate them. I went down there, I met Peg and a few of the other people. Then they started casting for a show, and they asked me if I would sit in and read so that someone else could audition for this particular part. So I sat and read, and before I knew it, they were laughing at me and not at the character I was reading with. And after the audition for this girl, they came to me, ignored her completely, and said, "Would you take the part, please?" And so I got it. I was vastly older than she was, but I guess I was funny. And they liked that, and apparently they could see that I had a little bit of experience by that time, a lot of experience.
And Peggy worked on that show, or no?
Peggy worked on that show, yeah. That was one of the one acts. And then we did a few
I was
plays
Sylvia.
together.
Who is Sylvia?
I remember. I was Sylvia.
They made a play
Sylvia,
about it.
oh, yes.
Who is Sylvia?
Peggy was already
Or
a
the
fan.
goat.
She was already a fan of the Flying Gilleeces. She knew.
So I was looking for a play or a theater type company. Peggy wasn't, and we both managed to come together there.
Wow.
And
We stayed together all these years.
it wasn't the Rockaway Theatre Company at that time.
Right.
It was something else. I'll tell you
Was
that in
It
another
was
story.
a
if
something
you like.
theater. What was it called?
It was Rockaway Repertory Theater,
Mm.
which when I was going to get our credentials and get our tax exempt ID and
Incorporation.
papers, I put in, the first one I put in was Rockaway Repertory Company. He came back several weeks later saying, "It's already been used, you can't use that." So it became then the Rockaway Theatre Company.
Who
and I
came
kept
up with the name?
Which one? The
second one.
name? Me.
John did.
Wow,
Spelled
John.
Spelled R-E. Remember that. It's spelled
Always
R-E.
Artie, the classy way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but most people do not
It's okay.
spell it that.
You should sell like classic logo Rockaway Repertory Theater shirts. That'd be really cool. like I have a Chicago Whales shirt. They were before the Cubs for one season. Like that kind of vintage. That'd be really cool. So then, Susan, you were not there at the beginning.
No.
And you
I
are-
wasn't planning to ever be there.
You are. What's your title now?
No, my title now is producer.
Producer. How did you get into producing theater? Did you know anything about producing theater before?
I saw the producers on Broadway and it looked good.
Okay. It looked good.
It looked good.
So I said, I want to be Nathan, whatever his name is, Nathan
Lane.
Lane,
Lane,
yeah.
right.
I want to be Nathan Lane.
Max
but as you can
Bialystock.
see, I'm a little old and I don't remember things. But I want to be Max Bialystock. Yes.
No, legitimately though. No, well, I want to know what your story is. Is that your story?
Illegitimately.
No, I could see you say. I could see you seeing that and going, "That looks like something
right.
I could do."
John and I taught together. We taught together for like 20 years or so. And then John started this with the theater company. And he said to me, "We need some help. Will you come in and work with us on this new theater we got in Fort Tilden, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "No."
It's the truth. It's
That's
the
what
truth.
I said.
Wait, pause the story. What did you see in Susan that made you say, "We need her"?
Oh, in the beginning, she didn't really know. She wasn't aware of this. I used to go to the mailbox because I couldn't have stuff keep coming to my house. We needed a theater company mailbox. So I rented us a mailbox in the local post office. I would go there every day and pick up our theater mail and bring it to Susan's house and do my mail and my accounts and pay bills. I also had to get a checking account for us. I was using my own checking account, and that was not so legal at all.
Yeah.
So I would be doing my work right there in front of her and discussing things with her, and all the while secretly laying the groundwork for what I hoped would be her saying, "Yeah, well, why don't you let me help you with that? You're printing your own tickets, John? Oh, where? I could help you. You're making your own programs, just you, John? Yeah, well, that's what she's
Adele
doing
was
now."
laughing. You
But I
saw
didn't
Adele.
say it because I couldn't print his tickets or help him with the program.
So she never offered.
Right, but eventually, she found a way. She found a way.
Now, let me tell you
Into
something.
all our hearts.
Susan was still working full time, and she said she cannot do anything until she retires. And once she retired, we held her to her word.
Right.
Got it.
So you had no interest in theater before that.
I love theater. I had no
You did
interest
love theater.
in,
That's
in this
important.
theater company. I had no interest.
No, but you did love
I was
theater.
interested in theater.
loved going
and
to theater.
I
You were
went
an
to
English teacher,
Broadway,
of course.
and I've seen everything. And
Right.
of course, I've read every play, but I just didn't have any interest in being involved in this.
Okay, because now my question to you.
Because there were 5 people in the whole theater company that played all the parts. You should know at this point.
Right. So why would you want to get involved with that?
It was nothing you wanted. And there were only 4 people in the audience, and they gave out blankets to those people because it was so cold that when you walked in, you got a free blanket.
That sounds like a good
In
deal.
the early days, there was no heat, there was no air conditioning.
Okay, so
There was no bathroom.
would you want to be part of that?
I,
No bathroom. You had to hold it in.
No, you didn't. At
you could
intermission,
just go where you were because it was outside.
At intermission, I would take off my costume. I would meet the little old ladies at the front door with my little car, and I would drive them to the park bathrooms.
Oh,
and I would wait for them.
unbelievable. In the did they know you
Then
were
you
in the
go
play?
back on stage.
Then I go
for the
back. Then I
second
go back
act.
to the dressing room, put my costume back on, and get back up on stage.
That's incredible.
Because back in the day, there were only 6 of us.
That was
We
a
were
whole
on
audience.
stage. We did the announcements. We did the tickets. We did the snacks. We
Why
did
did you do it?
passion? There you go, passion. I discovered something that was fun that I never did before, that I loved, and I didn't think about my ex-husband and what all the things that were no longer in my life, which was good.
No?
But I had fun.
Is this why you said before we recorded that community theater saved your
It
life?
did. It saved my life because I was really depressed. And all of a sudden, I found like another family.
Right.
And I would like to say community theater has ruined my life.
Right, because you started happy and now you're depressed.
I used to be happy.
It was the opposite story, of course. And John's happy,
And
just happy all the
I
time.
knew what theater was. I came to Rockaway knowing that theater.
Saved a life, ruined a life, was a life.
So I chose the middle ground.
Right,
I said,
right.
Let's start then,
Right.
and I'll get to Scotland afore ye.
Right.
I mean, down the road, I decided that I'd rather boss everybody around, so I became a director.
Right. Well, that's the thing, right? You all, and I'm not burying any sort of leads here. You are on the executive board. We discussed this before, which means you all have opinions, some of them more vocal than others, on theater, on shows, on what shows we do, on who directs the shows, how good the shows are. Now, from an outside perspective, it seems like a teacher who had no interest at all, somebody who had stumbled into it and had maybe some hair experience, and you who had been out with your brother touring, doing your own thing,
Same age, same.
right, maybe are not the foremost authority on what's good and what's bad on stage. Yet, you became that. So it's interesting to see that you didn't start there,
No.
but you have formed this ability to have a valid opinion on what works and what doesn't work.
We formed opinions, and probably nobody in the whole theater agreed with our opinions.
Right.
But we forced it on them anyway.
That's what part of being on the board is,
That's
I think.
part
That's
of being
right.
a producer.
That's part of being a producer.
This is what it is. If you don't like it, watch it anyway.
Right. But it's kind of amazing that you would
That
think
should be
that
the slogan for the theater.
you would think
Watch it
that
anyway.
like that's part of starting something, right? Is that you don't have to necessarily show your resume at the start. You can go, well, I'm just going to do this because I want to, and
We
I'm
did some
saying what's right.
clunkers.
Yeah, you don't have to be right the first time you try something.
Right.
Is what we found.
I'm not going to
And
name it, but I could.
In the early days, we were only able to gather enough actors to do one-act plays.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is now the Rockaway Theatre Company, not that early
Right.
group, that other group. Because we were so few, and we'd find whatever skills people had. The electrician among us put some lights that we could use. They were just ordinary bulbs. They were not stage lights, but eventually we got them. We got someone to help us with sound, and we got, for a couple of years there, we had the free talent from local kids who wanted to be our band, and they just played rock music.
There were students in my
and
class.
bad drums. We learned early that some things cost, and if you want to do musicals, and we did. I wanted us to, as the artistic director. I thought that was a good direction to go in to draw people to come into the theater.
Right.
Yes, of course, comedies. Eventually dramas too, when
Right.
we had enough people. But in the beginning, get the musicals going and get some people who are trained in teaching music. We got a few teachers who were teaching music in school in New York City high schools, and they became our band, and they would bring in other people, and so our band people began to grow. The shows got better and better until we can say proudly we have a pretty good reputation for musicals
Right.
in the New York area.
Now, do you know what that sounds like to me?
a plug for our show. So y'all come over to Rockaway here, and you'll see.
No,
the
but
best.
like I said, there's the theater part of it, which is amazing. But what you're saying is that the theater part of it would have never worked if not for the community part of it.
Ooh.
Yes,
Right?
of course.
Everyone had to come together to do this.
Yeah.
This is community theater is not something that you can do on your own. It's really not something you can say, well, the three of us want to do it, here we go. No. You have to get that ball rolling down the hill, and you got to pick up as many people as you roll as you can.
Yeah.
The better our shows became, the more people wanted to be part of it.
Right.
And more people volunteered. I mean, we started with 6 people, and then we wound up having hundreds of whole families joining and wanting to volunteer in some capacity.
Is that lost on you, or you realize that every day? Or every time you really think about the theater a lot?
Oh.
That it went from this little group and you just kept like the Pied Piper. These people just kept rolling into it.
We had a show. We didn't have an audience. I used to go out in the baseball fields and offer free tickets just to get people to come into the theater. Nobody knew we were there. Nobody, nobody knew about theater.
That's amazing.
I mean, introducing live theater to Rockaway.
Right.
That
Well,
was
this
it.
is the thing, right? So live theater is something that most people consider to be Broadway, right?
Expensive.
Expensive.
Mm-hmm.
They expect glitz and glamour, and they think that it is an unreachable goal. Okay? So this goes into the next thing of the importance of it and the why, right? I love doing theater. I am not... Okay, in my opinion, let's just say, I am not a Broadway quality performer.
Well, see,
I could be.
I think you do a great job. I think you do a great job.
Well, I appreciate that, and I think everybody who is involved in this does, right? Yes. No.
Good
Stop
job.
that.
I knew he would hate it.
Why
I knew
would
he
you
would
do
hate it. I knew he'd hate it.
So, but what I'm saying is, like, there's a world that exists where the Rockaway Theatre Company isn't there. John and Frank and Danielle love to do theater, and we can, I guess, write about it. We can write it down if we want, but there's nothing else. We can't do it.
Well, there are other community theaters you've worked with a lot.
There are, because we're in New York. If you're outside of New York, sometimes maybe there's one little house players, and like maybe
Church basement.
maybe, but that's what the importance of it starting is so valid, because people like us and people of all ages can get to express themselves in that way because community theater exists, right? Like, there's that stigma of, and I you guys can say it all the time. I mean, you guys probably don't, because you don't face the same type of social thing that we would face, where it's like, if I say I'm an actor and someone's like, oh, what do you do? Where do you perform? Unfortunately, it's almost always, the answer is always, just some community stuff. Because that there's a stigma that community stuff is not as good.
People think that
That's
community
bad.
theater is like high school.
Right.
Some think it's like elementary school. And some community theaters, unfortunately, I've seen shows that make me understand why they think that of community theater.
Yeah.
But there are many community theaters out there that I have seen shows that we have done that I have then seen on Broadway, and I would say that we did a lot of justice to that play, because not always is the Broadway reproduction, of a standard musical as good as ours. I mean, if we had the lights, the theater, if we had Lincoln Center and everything that Lincoln Center has available, then our South Pacific would be in competition with their South Pacific.
Right.
Yeah.
The only thing they had on us
Money.
is
More money.
They had the money, they had the sets, they had the the things that we could never afford.
Right.
But every night when the curtain goes down and people come to meet the cast, inevitably you will hear them say, "This was like being on Broadway," or "I saw this on Broadway and this was better."
Right.
So it's not that all community theater is like an elementary school production.
Yeah.
it's certain community theaters just are better than others.
Right. But people don't understand that. I just want to put an addendum. Typically, I don't know, you guys don't hear it as much as we do. The phrase is actually, this is better than Broadway. I don't know why. People coming out, they don't know how to phrase it. For some reason, they put the wrong emphasis. They always say, better than Broadway. I don't know what that means. And I will say, being a self-deprecating humor person that I am, we do shows, and when somebody comes out and goes, this was better than Broadway, we say have you ever seen Broadway? Broadway? But that's neither here nor there. We do always go, well, I don't trust your judgment. But no, I mean, we've all got friends who do things on Broadway, and they're immensely talented, and they put in a ton of work to be, frankly, better. Let's use the phrase better than I am, let's say, as a performer, right? Or better, but you know what I mean. But if I don't choose that to be my career path, or I want to make it my job, there is an outlet for me, which is
community theater.
Exactly. And
and if that wasn't there, what would you do?
Right, nothing.
You would have nowhere to grow it.
No, absolutely not.
Right.
No.
Right.
Do podcasts all the time.
Just do podcasts. I probably wouldn't do this. I have been doing theater my whole life. My first show I was ever in was I was 9 years old, and I have been doing at least 1 or 2 shows a year consistently since then.
How old are you now? 12?
Yep. No, the pandemic 2020 was the first year since then. I believe that I did not do a single show. Before then, I was doing sometimes 6 shows a year. Because I work with you guys, and I also work with other companies as well. You guys have become my home company, but I didn't get to you guys. Like I said, you've been there 20 years, and I've only been there, like, say, 10 or 12 years because I came into you guys late.
The Ridge Corral, or it was known as Samaha.
Yes.
For many years before you came to us.
Right. Yeah, and I worked with them. And I did youth theater, right? You guys do youth theater, too.
Yes.
You guys have a youth program, which I think is crazy important.
And crazy big.
And and crazy big. Let's discuss the youth, actually, a little bit. I have opinions that are probably shared opinions, if I'm being honest with you guys, but they're not feasible. But so tell us a little bit about the youth thing. How long have you been doing youth theater?
It's Peggy's department.
Peggy.
But I just wanted to say something that follows up on what you were talking about earlier.
Yes.
People who are living out in rural areas that do not have access to theater, no local theater. I felt sorry for them as you were saying it, because I realized that's probably true out there.
Yeah.
In big America, how does someone get involved in it? Well, my answer was going to be you start with the young people, get them to appreciate theater, and that takes us right to what Peggy is doing and what you are doing starting at age 9. But someone got you involved at age 9.
That's right.
Who and how did that happen?
It was because I saw my sister was in a youth company as well. We lived next door to a church company, Our Lady of Guadalupe, and I watched their shows and we can get more into that because I saw other kids my own age, and it gave me an opportunity. I wasn't a sports kid. I needed to, I didn't even know I liked theater, but like I knew that I didn't like X, Y, and Z. I was like, but maybe this might work.
Okay.
So
it started with John. You did a one play.
I spent several months working with the kids, and we did a play. It was really rudimentary, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but the kids had fun.
Oh yeah,
and the parents loved it.
And Maureen McNamee's daughter was in it. Peggy Bavino's daughter was in it. That's how we made some lasting connections.
Right. Which helps you build the larger adult community.
Right.
Yeah.
So then we said, let's make it an actual class and start teaching some of these young people. Then you can pick it up.
And then Peggy and I took it over. You said you didn't really want to devote all that time.
I was still teaching full time.
Right, he was still teaching. So Peggy and I took it over on Saturdays, and 6 kids became 100. Over the years. And we started with straight plays. One year we had 3 different groups, all in one day, and we did 3 different plays, all in one day. And the kids set up their own props, their own sets, and everything. first group of parents came in and they went out, and the second play went on. And it was great. It was fun. It was a learning experience for all of us. And then we brought in music people, and we started doing junior musicals, and then it just flew through the roof because every kid wants to be a star. Yeah. But we are based on ensemble productions. We tell our kids there are no divas allowed, and we teach them all how to be part of a group. And
gotta teach the adults.
This is what I wanted to mention to you before. The youth program is a paid program, right? You have to pay to join the program.
Not always.
Wasn't always.
At the beginning, no.
Okay, so this is where I want to go, right? All, to my knowledge, youth theater programs now in the boroughs, let's say the Brooklyn Queens, are paid programs, and it's a financial commitment for a parent.
Yes, the parents pay.
Right. When I started doing community theater at Our Lady of Guadalupe, it was completely free. I imagine that if you guys had the finances, it wouldn't. I don't want to say it wouldn't be a paid program because then it's committed if you're paying. But
Right.
Let me tell you something. We give a lot of kids.
Oh yeah, sure,
We call
yeah.
it scholarships.
I mean,
Right,
we call it scholarships. But I have noticed that giving it away for free
Yeah.
is not good because they don't take it seriously.
It's an investment when you pay.
That's what it is. Yeah.
It's like being in therapy. If you would,
We had too
didn't
many
have to pay the
kids
therapist.
not show up. Well, no, they're not coming. They're going to go someplace.
Yeah, because you're not paying for it. That makes
That's
total
it.
sense.
And we don't charge a lot of money.
No, I don't even
We don't
know.
charge a
I'm
lot
just
of money. And that money goes to give stipends to the instructors. Remember, we have
of course.
we have full-time. I mean, we spend how many hours on Saturday alone?
Saturday, it's 6 hours.
6 hours on Saturday, not counting all the extra rehearsal time we do, and all the paperwork and everything else that we do. So,
Well, no, I mean I know that's the way it's got to be. I know
plus
that's
the
the way it's
rights
gotta
and
be.
the scripts and
Absolutely,
everything else.
no. And the world is different now than it was when I was doing it. You know, it's the way it's got to be.
And let me ask you this, John, about your experience at Our Lady of Guadalupe. Was it a training class, or did you all just come there to put on a show?
It was put on a show. It was not
it
classes.
wasn't
Right,
training.
you're paying for classes.
Now, that's what we offer: training, classwork, and stage work.
Right.
Right.
But
And if the kids are
we have it all
interested,
worked out, and then we put on a show.
Right.
Right.
The only reason I say it is because when I was doing theater, I did theater at OLG with a lot of people who have gone on to be professionals on Broadway and have gone on to be leads in your shows, and a lot of people. But a lot of those people would have never done it, myself included, if my parents had to pay for me to take a chance on it. And I said, like, my parents wouldn't have paid for me to try it. You know what I mean? But I understand what you're saying. But so that's why I always think about, like, what if there's a kid out there who wants to try it and their parents that don't want to think about it? Well, what if you hate it? You know, and but that's
give
something
them a
you guys have to
scholarship.
think about. Right, exactly.
If the kid shows promise, we give the kid
Right.
a
if the kid
scholarship.
has a passion, and it's not even about talent, if that's what they want to do, and if they're serious and they have a passion, and they come every week and they show up and they try their hardest, that's all we need.
Right.
That's all we
Yeah,
need from
that's
them.
valid.
So understanding that reaching out to the young people or the children is integral, right, to grow something like this, because they put the community in community theater, right? Kids are half the community, if not more,
That's
right?
right.
Because two parents have more usually than two kids. So they're more of the community necessarily than we are
Right.
of the community. Yeah.
So what happens is the parents have to come and see their kids in their production.
Yeah.
And then they realize that, well, the kids are putting on a fabulous show because we hold them to adult standards.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So now the parents that have never come to see a main stage production says, wow, if the kids can do such a great job, they must be doing really good shows here. And they all wind up coming.
And do you
constantly.
see that? Because
All
Peggy
the
also
time.
handles all the ticketing. So do you notice that a lot of the parents that you don't know become then
They
even
do.
become subscribers?
They become subscribers. They're real supporters.
It's a pyramid scheme.
Real supporters.
This is a Ponzi scheme.
Right. Basically.
Right. So John, I just want to get to you because you had said something before we started about that stigma with
Yes.
community theater. If you want to continue.
Yes. We secretly stab them with love of theater. The kids go home to their parents and they talk about how we did this, we imitated that, we made these sound effects, and we played this game and all kinds of things like that. They make it sound easy. Then their parents come and see the show and they're blown away by it, as Peggy said. But it brings them in through the parents. I'm sorry. The kids bring their parents in through the show. Then the parents become part of our audience in other shows that we do. And then as the kids get older and maybe someone else they talk to hears about it, they bring in other people. So it's exposure to good theater, local theater with local people whom you know, whom I think you get to talk to after the show. I think that's an important part that a lot of theater companies forget. They're too above the crowd to be able to stand out there and shake hands with people.
Yeah.
And yet the audience loves that aspect of it, to get to talk to them after the show. Keeping it personal, keeping it local, keeping it professional, keeping it Broadway quality, all of those balls juggling at the same time leads to a really good reputation, which spreads wider, draws in more fish in your net, and so it just gets bigger and bigger.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, we could fill many more seats if our house wasn't only 237 seats.
We could fill it with sardines. Because you pour in all those fish.
Wow, I did not know what she was talking about until she elaborated.
Vincent Sardinia. Why are you wearing a napkin? I'm going to address it now.
It's so that the watermelon won't spill on me.
The audience who have never seen a watermelon up until this point, they still have it. Great. Thank you, Susan.
But
incidentally, side note, my father was in Vincent Gardenia's house when he was a telephone repairman.
Love it. I live on Vincent Gardenia Boulevard. Go on.
I have an autographed picture from.
All right, enough of Vincent Gardenia, please.
This episode's called Enough of Vincent Gardenians.
I have a question. I think they used to do this on, I don't know if it was inside the actor's studio. It was not. It was something like that. So I have a question for all three of you.
I loved Inside the Actor's Studio.
It's just a prompt.
When did you get that mustache?
Okay, Susan. Also, too much wine and too much watermelon. So the question is, it's not theater if it's not what? That would be my question for all of you. It's not theater if it's not. Thinking. Put up maybe some graphics here in the thinking moment, John.
You love to do this
I
to me. I don't put graphics in the show.
I can tell you it's not theater if it is. What is not theater?
What's not theater?
I mean, a lot of things aren't.
Anton Chekhov is not theater.
Oh, okay. I mean, he would probably disagree.
Mm-hmm.
And Stephen Sondheim.
Okay. Also, people would disagree.
And Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Okay, getting very
so
specific.
you're saying what's not theater by saying what you don't like.
Theater.
So what is theater?
Theater is Les Miserables.
Okay, you're missing. You're very specific.
Missing the whole question.
Theater is Shakespeare, not Chekhov.
Okay. Anyone else want
Frank,
to
you
answer?
repeat the question again.
Sure. Just finish the prompt. It's not theater if it's not what?
Entertaining.
Exactly.
If it's not fun.
thrilling.
Thrilling is good because not the fun, yes, but like a
Exciting.
drama doesn't have to be fun. Thrilling is thrilling, all the fun, comedy.
About a half hour ago, I went through a kind of a mental list, and these are some of the things I was saying. That theater for an audience should be all of those things.
Yeah.
It should encourage you, uplift you, teach you, give you
should
good
feel
examples
good when you
of.
leave.
Yes, make you
Or
feel
cry,
good about yourself.
depending on what you watch.
Right, that's right.
Theater can do so much, and so much of it does. It just has to be presented in the right way to people at a time when they are ready. There's a theater readiness age which some people have to reach. Kids are more open to it at a younger age to be brought into the fold. Adults, I go to play golf. I can't be going to the theater with you, Marge. Right. Just go on your own.
Yeah, Marge. Sure.
And that's what happens. Some of these guys in Rockaway, they don't want to go to the theater, and yet their wives bring them, or they come to see their kids or grandkids or whatever. Yeah. And at the end, they're hugging the actors. They can't believe it.
Well, that's another stigma, that theater's feminine.
Yeah, oh yes.
Want to talk about it?
Or there's another stigma that Cats is theater.
Okay, again, very specific.
Very specific. Susan's here just to air her dirty laundry and opinions.
I saw it 3 times.
Okay.
So you liked it?
No, she thought maybe she missed.
Can I ask?
I couldn't believe how bad it was
Hey.
the first time, so I went back to see if maybe
Can I
I was
ask?
drugged.
Can I ask what you would refer to the building that you saw it in as? A
As a cat house.
nope.
You wanted to say that. Come
Wow,
on, admit it.
it's a theater. So
As
yeah,
an angelical home.
that's right. So yeah, right. I mean, it does get this feminine stigma about it, but I think that's just that's the theater in its that's performance a lot of the time in its own right. For some reason, gets that. I don't know why.
It's crazy to me because we're saying these guys, right? These like blue collar guys, like in theater. But then they go home and they watch television and they watch dramas on
Yes,
television.
they do.
So what's the
We
difference?
watch All in the Family.
Right.
Yes, they all watch All in the
Yes.
Family.
This
Listen,
episode was recorded in
people-
1975.
People think that theater is made up of like LGBTQ. That community is the only community that's part of theater. But that's because theater is the only place where acceptance, where all groups are accepted and there's a place for them.
Yeah.
That's not always true
No.
in other walks of life.
That's right.
Yes.
And even in community theater is important in that, right? Because a lot of the time, that acceptance is brought to you on a street level. There is somewhere that you can go without having to work your whole life to get there, to be in a place where you're accepted.
Yes.
I mean, I say all the time, the best part about community theater to me is that I have friends, not acquaintances, not coworkers, friends from all walks of life, from all persuasions, genders, sexual orientations, ages. Like I could have a friend who's 15 years old who I consider a friend, and who's 75 years old and I consider a friend. It's like, where else do you have that?
Yep.
If fantasy football was my pastime, and I had a 75-year-old friend, you'd be like, where the hell did that? What
Right.
the
That's
hell
a
is
real
that
niche
about?
market. Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, theater brings that to you.
It's a broadening of perspective also.
It is. Absolutely. I always say, I used to say, this is a little bit of a pretentious, I guess it could
I love
sound
it. I'm so
pretentious.
excited for it. Say it. I'm going to clap. I already know I'm going to clap.
No,
for
don't
it. And
clap.
You're going to get so
Please
mad.
don't clap. No. Please
Hang
don't
on,
clap.
let me get the-
We will knock you
Let me get
down.
the prop video camera.
Please
for
put the
this.
camera
Okay.
videos. Please put the 8mm camera down. Used to say, I don't like to say I'm an actor, because to me, it's not what I get paid to do, and it is not what I do predominantly. That used to be my theory, right? And I'm not a professional actor, so I'm not an actor. I am an actor, right? So I never wanted to say I'm an actor, and then I would go into places and say that I was a performer, because
That's like a sideshow performer.
and I had someone once in a job
It's a
interview.
circus.
I had someone in a job interview say to me, "If you don't mind my asking, what kind of performance do you do?" Like, he thought I was gonna pull out flaming bowling pins, and start like
Stripper.
yeah, right,
I would have hired you.
right. So then I stopped. I mean, I did get the job. So then I stopped saying performer.
Yeah.
And now I say actor, because the next answer I would never say to anybody and try to keep a straight face. But if you ask me, I am a storyteller, right? I tell stories. If it's in character, if it's as myself, if it's on stage, if it's here, if it's in a social situation, if I was to put myself in a box, it's as a storyteller. That's what I do best, is convey a story. And that's all community theater is, I guess, but that's all theater is.
That's
Right.
what
That's
actors do.
exactly right.
That's what actors do. So when people think of it as innately feminine or innately, I don't know. I mean, I've been dealing with it my whole life. I'm sure you have as well. I mean, where it's like, you don't play sports, so you're good at singing and dancing. Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
You know what else that means? It means I'm probably better having a conversation than you are. Like, it's just something that I have been crafting always. So I don't know where that part of the stigma comes from. And I just want to really jump on real quick. I've been talking a lot. I want to jump on the meeting people after the show.
Yes.
When I came into your theater company, I thought that was bizarre, as all outside actors come in and think that.
Oh, yeah?
Any new people you come in, you'll see them. They don't want to come out. They say, I'm not going to do it. If you notice, if you look carefully, a lot of the time,
I've noticed that.
your leads are not out there because they think to themselves, I've been taught always don't come out in costume. But
Peggy's driving people to the bathroom in costume.
right, over the years,
She changed.
over the
She
years,
changed
I've thought to
first.
myself, why? That's like my favorite thing, to come out and greet people. I don't have to be in costume, but I stay in costume, whatever. Like, because there is no theater without the audience.
people.
Without them there.
Right.
And when you go to the theater, they charge extra certain nights for the meet and greet after. They actually stage it.
Right.
So that the actors come out at the end and you have like a meet and greet with the audience where you ask them questions,
In the
whatever.
Like
In
a
the theater.
talk back.
Yeah?
Right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
they do it immediately after in costume. They come out
And
and
they
you
charge.
can
And they charge.
And they usually charge
where's my
more on the
cut?
ticket. Lincoln Center charges more if you come to the night that they
Yeah,
do
John,
the
and
meet
you were in a
greet.
play at Lincoln Center, and you are responsible for this.
That's true. I am involved.
John
He was
wasn't
in
a play.
Peter and the Wolf.
You might know
Lincoln
John
Center.
from Peter and the Wolf
Ah.
in Lincoln
Yes,
Center.
My fans are still out there.
Well, who did you play in Peter and the Wolf?
Peter.
I was the grandpa
Okay, Susan?
and the mayor.
Good.
Double part.
Do you remember any of your lines?
Da, 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 da,
I remember the
da,
dance.
da, da.
That is Peter and the Wolf?
That's my
Was it a
music.
musical?
It is.
It's
It's
Prokhorov's.
It's classical music.
I have
Prokofiev's
no idea.
music. He
Prokofiev,
identifies each of the characters in the story.
Each character is a different instrument.
What
I came and
instrument were
saw
you?
that.
You saw that, yeah?
What instrument were you?
Bassoon.
I was going to say bassoon.
No, you were
Oh,
not.
that's so funny.
No, you do look like a bassoon when you do it.
It's not the look of the instrument. It's the
I
sound.
was-
Let me ask you this. What
Listen.
instrument would Susan be?
Oh.
Snare drum.
What's-
The
what's
cymbals.
Adam, that's good.
What's
I would be
Cymbals.
stand-up bass.
No, you would
Stand
not.
up bass.
You'd be cymbals. They
I'll
fall
leave
off
it
the
at
shelf.
that.
Symbols fall off the shelf.
Symbols because I reverberate.
But I don't know. Over the years, I've come to love meeting the audience because, like I said, there is no audience, but I'm in the audience always comes out, and they always say thank you. And I always say to the audience member, the audience member says to me, they always say thank you, and I say thank you, and I say without you, we'd have been up there doing this to an empty stage.
That's what you've
And
been
we've
saying
done
this
that.
whole time?
What?
I just say,
no.
you're
I
welcome.
always say. Danielle knows this is a famous line of mine because I think it's so good. I always say, without you, we'd be up there doing it to an empty audience, and that would feel silly. And then I say to them, well, if I'm being honest, we've been doing it to an empty audience for 3 months, and it's fine. But I'm glad you're here. I always say that. I'm going to talk to Danielle for a second. Can I put you on the spot here, Danielle?
Ooh.
Sure.
What I'm going to put you on the spot about is it's going to come around, and you're going to say, wow, what a thing to put Danielle on the spot about.
Am I a good husband?
How's the baby? Community theater, okay, is important to many people who love doing theater. It gives them an outlet. What about people who've never done theater, never even thought about doing theater, but want to take a chance to put themselves out there, right? That's how you got involved.
She came to Rockaway Theatre and we sucked her in.
Right.
Because we saw she could draw and she could do stuff. And she'd always be, sitting in the background because her best friend was in the show.
Plus, she had a laugh that really helped.
And then we needed her in the
That
audience.
helps us a lot, too.
She became like
true.
a permanent audience fixture.
Right.
And you, before Danielle, you answer it. Why don't you tell us?
You always hijack my questions to
What-
Danielle and make me
what-
say something stupid.
What you thought the first time you saw Danielle, who would be your future wife?
Wait, this
was,
is a callback to
Yeah,
my
it's
four
episode.
words. We know this because we've said it many times. The 4 words you said in your head when you saw Danielle. Oh, there's that. Go ahead.
The big weird girl at the theater.
We didn't have a video component back then.
For years after meeting Danielle, once a year on my Facebook, I would get, here's your friends' birthdays, and I would go, who the hell is this? And I'd click on it and I go, oh, it's that girl from the theater with the big teeth. I swear I said that. For years it would come up and I'd go, who is this? And I'd look at it and I go, oh, it's the girl with the teeth from the theater.
Danielle, I never once thought about your teeth, just so you know.
But
Thanks.
you, Danielle, started doing shows at the theater because you wanted to expand your social ability in as far as being in front of people, right?
Can I just ask, who was the one who pushed you to doing that more than anyone else? That's the truth. Tell.
Well, Susan Jasper was a big supporter of me always, and I appreciate it. Still is.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I chose to. So I was doing community theater. I was assisting with all of the backstage stuff. I started painting sets. I then, went into and started learning sound. I even assisted slightly with like costumes. But then I realized I needed it professionally. I was a terrified human, and I was always afraid to get up on stage. But I've loved theater, every aspect of theater, my entire life. Like I would watch musicals pretty much every single day of my life. So I always knew it was just somewhere that I wanted to be. And immediately going to the Rockaway Theatre Company, I always felt like home. Always.
Here's the secret of a theater company. When you have, especially at the beginning, when you have no budget, and you find someone like Danielle or like Adele, you suck them in and you use them until you wring them out and wring them dry. When you have talent like that who can work on stage, can work behind the stage, can work in the front of the theater, can work in the back of the theater, can do the art, can do the performance, can make the costumes, you take that person and you don't let them go. You chain them to the theater.
No,
because
that's very
those
fair.
are the center of our universe.
Right.
Those are the people that can work in the children's program. They can, whatever you give them to do, they can do. They can do your computers, they can do your website, they can, whatever you want. Both of them are in the same category.
Yeah.
And we are so glad the two of you, Adele and
Whoever her name is.
No,
Danielle.
No, the big girl with the
Adele and
He pointed at Danielle and
Girl
said
with the big
Adele.
teeth.
Yeah.
So glad you
That's
joined us because you've made the theater company much better.
Yeah.
A much improved place. Bravo.
John, let's not forget though, John, and it's me and John. This is our show.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I just want to say something to your audience.
Yes.
Audience out there, you're listening to me now. And I don't know if you're seeing anything visually, but you certainly are hearing things. Your two hosts, John and Frankie.
this is what we've been waiting for.
This is just as you told me to say
Correct.
it.
Follow
Are
the script.
two of the most talented individuals I have ever met. And I've been around for a good number of years and seen a lot of talent. They're good on stage, they're good backstage, they're good hanging from the rafters, painting things, they're good up in the studio somewhere, making something happen mechanically. They are just wonderful, positive, fun people to have around, and they help make our theater company as good as it is, and I thank you both.
They are almost
all
as
that
good
you've
as
contributed.
Danielle and Adele.
Yes.
Almost.
Almost. Yeah.
And John, I will say that, and I can speak for myself, I would not have had the opportunity to do any of that if I wasn't in this theater company and just given trust to just, do it. I was like, okay. So I want to say a quick story. How I found the theater company, because it's very ironic. You might know it.
Good.
Maybe you don't know it. I went to the high school where Susan taught. And John taught, I think, too, at some point. But not when I was
Which
there.
one was it?
Goldstein.
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 You taught there or no?
Yes, sure,
yeah, okay.
I did.
You weren't there when I was there. Susan
I
was there.
the original
Yeah,
English
I was there.
teacher.
He was
Got
assigned
it.
to my class. He transferred out the first
Okay,
day.
let me explain. It was senior year, and I needed another English credit. So I had no problem in English class. I liked it. So I took Susan Jasper's class. I didn't know her. Sitting there, I don't know what you talked about the first day about a pen, and you were going on about this pen. And Susan Jasper is obviously a brilliant teacher, but we know Susan Jasper now personally. She's hilarious. She's big energy. And I remember I sat there and I said, I can't sit in this lady's class. I can't be in this class. I'm overwhelmed. I don't know why I can't do it. So then I learned in that first week, well, you could get the English credit in drama. And I never took
Changed
it.
it to Victoria.
I never took a drama
no.
class ever. I liked I helped paint the scenery and I did magic tricks. That was it, right? So I went to this drama class to get my English credit. And that was like a game changer in that class and being in a play, and I was never really in a play before and whatever. And that really took off. And then it was time to find a theater, and then there was another teacher there named Mike. We all know Mike. And Mike said, hey, we're doing this play, Fiddler on the Roof. We need guys. Okay. So I was like, I guess. So then I came to the Rockaway Theatre Company, and then I wound up helping with the set, too, which is really why I was there. And who would have known that was Susan Jasper's theater company? And 20 years later, I haven't left her class. And that's my story. Thank you. Thank you. I got into theater. I only got into theater to avoid Susan Jasper.
This I will say. When John, as the artistic director, sees an actor that gets it, he always says, have you thought about directing? Have you thought about taking up directing? If the actor really understands the makings of the play, and he can see that when he's directing, he will always approach them and say, have you thought about directing? And the same goes for dancers. When he sees a dancer that understands what the choreography is and, how it should be, gets it, he always says, have you thought about choreography? Have you thought about becoming a choreographer? So one thing I will say is, he is always looking to push the people on that stage to the next level and to, exhaust their talents in all areas.
Well, I always felt like, it's funny, I always felt like coming in as late as I did into Rockaway, that I joined a group of people who had been there for 10 years prior to me, like Frank and a bunch of those other guys and girls my own age.
And the weird girl?
The weird girl included. I felt like almost a player traded from another team. Like I felt like I wasn't homegrown, right?
Yeah.
So there was like a chip on my shoulder a little bit for a while that I was like,
but wasn't everybody supportive?
Of course, so much so.
It's unbelievable.
It is. It's
that
like
there's no backstabbing.
No. It's family, but like I didn't know that coming in. So I'm sitting there going, am I an outsider? Like I said, I felt like I got traded from the Mets, and here I am on the Yankees.
But now, did you have a moment where you were like, "Oh, I'm in. This is my tribe"?
Yes. One Susan is openly rude to you. I say that all the time. Once Susan is not afraid to tell you what she really thinks,
then you're in.
You're home.
You're close enough.
It means that you're close enough because she's not afraid to lose you anymore.
Good point. That's a good point.
The quote that's constantly used for me, which I can't believe is true of me, is, "This sucks!"
Yes, of course. Is what you say all the time.
Well, that's how you know how your work is. That's
how you know
by which your work is
successfully directing a show.
I see a scene, I come to a rehearsal, and it sucks. I got to say it. I got it.
Right. It's a nuanced critique.
No, but what kind of producer would you be if you were willing to let something that you don't have faith in go up in your own theater?
Agree, 100%.
I have to let you know, you got to fix this. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that it's unfixable. It just sucks the way it is.
You know, for the longest time, this is a conversation we're going to have for the first time on the air. For the longest time, I used to get angry. And I was like, Susan is harsh and rude for no reason. And everybody would say, this is a conversation, I remember having an argument in your house. Everyone would say, that's just the way she is. That's Susan. And I used to say, why is that acceptable? I felt like Martin Luther King. Somebody has to come in and say it's not acceptable anymore. But over the years, it's because you know, it's because you want it to be better and because you know that it can be better.
And I don't have time to play nice.
Right. You also can't have a producer who dances around.
I'm old.
Yes. I've gotten older. And as you get older, you don't want to waste time. You just want to say, this is like really bad. Fix this. You're not doing a good job. That's all.
Right. And that's all. The beauty of community theater is that you can say that openly, and we all have to just listen to it.
I'm sure they say it in professional theater as well.
They say,
I'm sure
they don't say it to each other. They say it behind each other, and then just fire them. So I want to play a game. I think we're probably going to, because we're getting towards the end of this, I think we should play 2 games in succession.
Love it.
But I want to play a game. I probably can handle this whole game, if you don't mind, because you can also maybe take guesses.
Yeah, great.
What I want to do is I have broken down the plots of shows to their very bare bones. And I want to see if you can guess the show just by the very basic description of what it is about. So these ones are assigned questions. So please don't answer your question.
Assign me anything by Stephen Sondheim.
No, I won't. I almost did.
Oh my gosh.
Don't answer unless it's your question, unless the person gives up. Okay? So this one is to John.
All right.
This is I'm going to give you the very basic explanation of what the show is. See if you can tell me what show I'm talking about. Some of them are show you've directed. Some of them are not. Okay. An overbearing mother pushes her daughter to the brink of sex work.
Good job.
Danielle knows this one.
Of course, I know it too.
Gypsy, I just said it.
Even Tony knows it.
Tony's got it.
Okay, what is it, Susan?
I
Gypsy.
can't think.
Gypsy. Ready? Peggy.
Uh-oh.
This one is two old men argue about comedy.
The Sunshine Boys.
Sunshine Boys. That is
Nice.
correct. That is correct. Okay, Susan. Two lowlives bet on women like they're horses.
Guys and dolls.
That is correct.
That was great, Susan.
That's quick.
Okay, John, this is a hint. This is a more modern one. A teenager lies to everybody, and I'm supposed to feel bad about it. Does anybody know that one?
I do.
What is Susan?
Dear Evan Hansen.
Dear Evan Hansen. Yes.
That's so good. That's so good. It's true.
Okay, Peggy. This one is people just missing each other coming in and out of doors leads to a misunderstanding.
It could be a couple.
Pick one.
Any of yours.
Boeing.
Sure. Any others?
Rumors.
Sure.
Lend me a tenner.
Sure.
Okay. Comedy of tenors.
There it is. See? Good.
It's Tony who has to build all the doors.
Yeah, right. Tony built all the doors.
That's so funny.
Okay. Susan, this is a tough one. It's a dramatic one.
Dramatic.
Two teens fall in love. They all need new friends. Anything?
Two teens
Anything?
fall
It's a
in
drama.
love.
We've never done it at Rockaway. Two
I
teens
think-
fall in
I
love.
got
John
one.
knows it.
I got one.
What do you think?
Is it Romeo and Juliet?
I was going to say Romeo and
that's what I was
Juliet.
gonna say.
Okay. Close.
Oh,
Tony guessed it.
Tony!
He gets it?
Oh, so if
He
it's
guessed
close,
it.
then it must be I have to be in America.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Ah,
You know, I
West
can't
Side.
remember.
West Side
West Side
Story.
Story. Remember
Two
that?
teens fall in love. They all need new friends.
Ah,
Because the friends
They're terrible.
die, and they're terrible. One of them dies.
Okay, John.
okay.
A man swipes a loaf of bread. It changes his whole
Les
life.
Miserables.
Incorrect. Aladdin. No. It's both. It's both.
It's both. It's both.
It's both. It's both. Okay. Ready? Peggy. A bunch of ghosts in a theater, maybe. What? Okay. John? Yes?
Folly.
Folly.
Oh, okay.
A bunch of ghosts, maybe in a theater.
Okay.
I actually love
I
Follies.
can't believe that I drew a blank.
I thought Phantom of the Opera. I was like, what's that, Ghosts?
I love Follies. There's a movie
Oh,
coming out.
that's
I'm very
so
excited.
funny.
Okay. Last one. Susan. A chubby girl gets a chance to be a
know
star.
Hairspray.
Hairspray.
Hey.
But really, for the non-narrow-minded, that's any show.
And
Any show. Any show
Good
at all.
list. Good list.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
That
very
was
much.
great.
Yes.
so funny.
That was really funny.
Thank you.
The Ghost one was
The
really good.
ghost of the theater.
I can't believe
Yeah,
that.
it was vague.
All right, are we ready?
Okay, so now Frankie would like to. We're gonna do our sappy wrap up after this.
Sure.
Frankie's gonna take us into another game.
So we play this on every episode. It's called the rating
We
game.
love the rating game.
You'll be given a series of items.
It's
all
like the
having
dating
to-
game,
It
but-
is not like the dating
it's like
game.
the dating
People
game,
with a
except
list.
it just
It's
rhymes with it.
People with a lisp. Correct, Susan. So the rating game, like the dating game for people with a lisp, we're going to tell you things that have to do with theater. We have a list here, and you have to rate them from 1 to 10, depending on how you feel about it. You don't really have to even give a reason, but you can if you'd like to.
10 is the highest.
10 is the highest. We're going. What are we rating it in?
Theater Ghosts.
Theater Ghosts.
Rating
We're
it
gonna rate
in Theater Ghosts.
in Theater Ghosts.
1 to 10 Theater Ghosts.
Okay. So
Okay.
10 to
Okay?
theater goes.
So
We like
I'll go
10
first.
Theater Ghosts, yeah.
Things about theater. How do we rate vaudeville?
Ah.
How many Theater Ghosts do you give that?
Ah.
It's open to anyone.
5.
Okay, 5, John.
I would say 5 or 6.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll agree.
So
We
vaudeville
need-
is
that's
not
the
the
basis.
epitome.
Vaudeville is dead.
It is the
There's-
basis, but it's not the epitome.
Vaudeville is dead, and
No.
vaudeville was the home of blackface.
Right.
It was at a time when people had different standards, but it still like lowers the quality of vaudeville.
Got it.
Right. So you respect it for what it did for theater, but not for really what it is.
Correct. I
Got
agree
it.
with that.
Got it. Okay. Okay, next one. Theater in a church basement. Specifically if there's some sort of load-bearing pole that blocks the view.
That blocks the what?
That blocks
view.
the view of the stage.
Middle of the audience,
Like
a big
you got a
pole.
base-
I would
it
give
around.
it 3 ghosts because those theaters are necessary.
They are necessary, not 0. We get 3 because they're necessary. Okay.
I'm in the
Not
same
because
area,
they're good.
3
They
to
are.
4.
How do you really feel, Peg?
I give it 5
Okay.
Really?
because I've seen some that church like in Queens, the Park Players.
Yeah, sure.
I've seen some pretty good productions with that.
As a matter of fact, they do specifically have a load-bearing
Bearing
pole
pole,
right
yeah.
in the middle. That's right.
And they're what's the one where he says you have to pay for the toilet? What's the
Urinetown. Oh,
The
their
Urinetown.
their production of Urinetown was very
with
good.
the pole
Yes.
in between.
But
I didn't see that.
But so let's just be clear, right? You guys can't be judging the basement theater just because you have a theater. Not everybody has a theater, right? So the
That's-
shows can be just
Right.
as good.
Yes.
Right, they have
Yes.
done good shows,
Right.
but look, the Heights Players.
Right.
It's the most unconductive area to
Right,
put
right,
on
right.
a musical, which I've seen them do.
And they
Yeah.
put on such unique stuff utilizing the space they have.
Yeah.
Right, they make
Yeah.
good use of the space that they have.
Again, this is things about community theater. Losing a lot of money. How many theater ghosts do we give that?
Wow. Losing a lot of money.
Fortunately, we haven't.
Okay. Well, so then
Yeah. I gotta
It was
say,
only the pandemic that
Right,
we
right.
actually lost money on.
I would give it a 2.
okay.
Theater Ghosts. It was never very important to me in the early origins of the Rockaway Theatre Company that we make money. What became important was that we had to be able to charge money, and to do that we had to offer something really good to show the public.
Sure.
There was that qualitative balance there. But luckily, we have become solvent and can pay for a lot of the work we're doing in the theater ourselves because we have some money put aside. And we're not anywhere near broke, but I do feel bad.
For companies that are broke.
Yeah, community theaters.
John always said, I don't care if we make money, but let's try not to lose any.
That's
Yeah,
fair. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
fair.
As long as the art is there, as long as
Right.
we do it.
It is an arts organization. So, all right. So, just rate the following thing about theater: 25 teens in a diner at 11 p.m. Because I would give it. Can I say negative ghosts? Is what
Right,
I would
yeah,
say. Because that poor waiter, when they walk in,
That'll teach you to go to that diner at 11 p.m. knowing that all those kids are going to be there.
So how do you rate it? And how do you rate the version of Summer Nights they're invariably going to sing?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
They can't
They're
possibly tip well.
They can't tip well for
No
fries.
way for those burger the deluxes.
Oh,
no
please.
way.
How do you rate that?
We don't like
I
it.
rate that as no ghosts.
No
0.
ghosts. Peggy
Same.
hates it. John.
I feel bad for it, but look, it's a truism, and it does happen.
Yeah.
But the kids are feeling safe, and they're in a theater company kind of.
They
crew.
bonded.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
That they're all there. They're not out to cause trouble.
No.
They're talking over the evenings.
They
theater
still have their
activities.
show makeup on so people know they were acting.
Right, they're sitting there at the diner with the old the wrinkled lines.
Yeah,
going on.
please.
Listen, I feel bad for those waiters when all the adults come off stage and go out.
Yeah,
Especially from a show like Fiddler on the Roof when there were thousands.
It's a lot of people.
A lot of beards and soups. A lot of matzo balls had that.
They had a
That's
matzo ball.
the Floridian. They have a big problem.
It's
there.
closed now because we haven't been going there.
Meridian is closed.
It's gone. Yeah.
But I just.
Pandemic killed it. Bro.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
No,
Floridian's
what
closed.
killed it was the cold eggs with hair in it. Okay. How about musicals that were movies? Very popular trend on Broadway right now.
Making a movie into a live musical instead of the
Yeah.
other way around.
The other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's name some quick, Frank. Go. Rocky.
Pretty
Legally
Woman.
Blonde.
Pretty Woman.
Pretty Woman.
Legally Blonde. Bring It On.
Mrs. Doubtfire, Beetlejuice,
Very good.
Wow.
Yep.
1776.
What?
That was both a movie and a musical.
No, it was a musical first.
But it was a musical first.
What?
Listen,
I
I
saw
want
the
the
original.
Year? I was like,
It was a musical first.
I
was a
saw the
musical first,
original
and then they made it
in
into
the
a film?
70s. Yeah,
That's Frank's
Okay, got
fault.
it.
I saw it in the 70s.
So how do you rate
Speaking
that?
of Superman last night. Is that
There
in
has
this
been.
category?
There has
Oh,
been a musical.
Spider-Man.
That was a musical. I know.
Yeah, Superman, Spider-Man, Batman, yeah.
Oh yeah, we saw Superman or whatever that was where he flew.
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
God, that was Spider-Man.
Oh, she loves it.
The
we don't
movie
like that.
sucked and the play sucked.
Okay, well,
Yep.
they agree to disagree on that. So that's fine.
I think there's a. I think if it's a good production. There's nothing wrong with it.
That's right. There's
Thank
a place
you,
for
Peggy.
it if it's well done.
How do you feel about jukebox musicals?
I enjoy them.
I love them.
So do I.
I really enjoy them.
Yeah, because you know what you're going for.
But they can't just be a It can't just be a concert, rather.
No.
Like beautiful, very well done.
Beautiful.
Something
Great.
like the Cher musical I've heard, as fun as it is.
Yeah, I saw it. It was nice.
Is a
I didn't see
concert.
the show.
Yeah.
I don't need to go see a Cher
What
concert.
about Jersey Boys?
Jersey
That's kind of
Boys.
like
Jersey
That
Boys.
was the
Best.
first.
I loved it. Had great
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what
story.
else was best. What's the one we saw about the one who had a car accident and was paralyzed and then she came?
On your feet.
That's it. On your feet.
Was that good?
Was that what that's about?
Excellent.
Well, Gloria Estefan was in a car.
I just thought it was Gloria Estefan. Get on your feet. That was it.
The ironic, because
It was her whole story, how she grew up in Puerto Rico, how she met her husband.
Yeah.
It was biography.
Right.
Using
No,
all
those
our
are not
music in
bad.
it.
Those are not bad.
Okay. How would you rate using your own furniture in the show?
hey.
Let's go.
Peggy.
What do you give it? What do you give it?
I give it 10 ghosts because you know what?
She likes it.
You're not in community theater unless you use your own furniture on stage. That's it.
That could have been one of the answers to his.
Or your own clothes.
Right. Your own
Like
clothes.
every time somebody would come out in that great dress, they'd say, that's
Yeah.
my dress. This is the porn show. I've seen this different dress.
I can't tell you. I think I can count on one hand the amount of times I've worn clothes in a show that weren't my own clothes. I wear every suit, hat, tie is always mine.
That's all yours.
Very rarely do I take anything from the costume room, unless it's like something weird, like the cow outfit.
That wasn't yours?
That was. Also, our audience member Tony, I'm sure, loves when we use furniture from home, so because he doesn't have to build a couch. So, let's say what's the next one? Okay, this is during the show in the audience.
You can read both.
So old ladies opening cough drops, and also old men opening cough drops in the audience. A lot of crinkling.
Lot of
of crinkling.
We asked them not to.
Yeah.
You asked them not to crinkle.
Listen,
Yeah.
to please open all that candy and everything before the show begins.
Imagine preloading your lap and opening 6 Lutens and just leaving them in your
Yeah,
crotch.
I mean, I do that. I open everything before the show.
Yes.
I do. I'm ready to go.
You do?
He absolutely does.
Yes.
That's
Oh,
what you
yes.
should do. If you're
I-
going to eat something, open your potato chips. Don't go popping it open when it's in the middle of the play.
I give the kids coffee filters, so they put their chips in the coffee filter so it doesn't make any noise.
Look at that.
I love
Yeah.
that.
You know what I would do? Wet the chips first.
Let
Dip the wet.
I
chips.
always spit on everything before I sell it.
Okay, Susan. Okay. Great press for the theater.
Always.
How do you rate understudies? How do
We
you
don't
rate
have any.
understudies? Yeah, but in general, it doesn't have to be at the theater here, but
the
understudies.
use of
Understudies, just understudies.
Did you see the story of what was that? Eve. All about Eve.
No.
See that?
No.
Sometimes the understudy turns out to be better than the star.
Okay.
Tony agrees.
You saw All About Eve, right?
Yeah.
But
You should see that.
I feel like I've done it before where I've been an understudy and it's like you put in all the work during the rehearsal process and then you don't ever get to do it. Or even you get to do it like once. It's like,
We would never do that. We double cast. We never make another person learn a part unless they're going to get at least 3 shows or 4 shows.
right.
Depending on how many you're doing.
Right. Depending on how many we're doing, but we always like double cast it
Because they're also not getting paid here.
right.
If you're getting paid, okay. Don't sit
Yeah.
back there. I
If
don't
you're
care.
getting paid on Broadway,
Different.
then it's a whole different bag.
But they all
But
are
I-
getting applause.
I always feel
As if they
bad,
get
as you
paid.
said,
Yeah,
John,
paid by
to
applause.
spend all that time, memorize all that stuff, especially if there are dance numbers involved and everything. You as the understudy, and then sometimes not even get one performance.
That's
Right.
rough.
As
Right.
Susan said, we always
We don't use
about a
understudies.
third of the performances would be done by the
If
understudy.
the star tells us, I can't be there for 2 Saturday nights, we tell them, well, then we're going to split it. If it's 10 shows, you're only going to get 5.
Well, it's nice that you don't tell them, then you can't do it at all.
Right. Well, we
Some directors
Sometimes
do.
you do, but yeah. I don't know. I also want to put this out there because this is not one to rate because I don't want anybody's opinion on it. I'm just putting this out there. It's not my personal opinion. I'd want to know, not in the theater. I know why. I know when Rockaway when it started. Why? Who years going back into the beginning of community theater said, "We're not going to pay anybody. We're not going to pay the performers." And then somebody went, "But we're going to pay the band."
It's true.
I'll tell you how that happened.
I know how it happened at Rockaway is whatever, but when did it
The
start?
guy who formed Local 802, the musicians.
Oh
union.
yeah, that's what I want a unionized
That's
theater
the
performance.
strongest union on Broadway.
Oh yeah.
It
They
takes-
get paid for everything. You go to one of these shows that is a what do they call it? It's a donation show or something.
Fundraiser.
Paid.
a benefit.
The band gets paid.
The band gets paid.
And you
Always.
want to know something else? This is how strong the musicians union is. If it is not a musical, one musician sits in the audience every night and gets paid, even though it's not a musical.
Is that true?
That's part of the contract. There is one person sitting in the audience, and you know how much these musicians get paid? They get paid more than the actors.
So you're saying at a show like, oh my God, what's just a play?
That's just a play.
To Kill a
This is
Mockingbird.
what the
Told
theater...
you,
To Kill a Mockingbird, there's a union band
union
member
made
sitting
a
in that
deal.
house.
If you want to have musicians when you're doing a musical, then when you choose to do a non-musical, you have to have one member of our union in the audience every night.
It's
Is it
always
the same person? Exactly.
No,
Oh.
no,
It's not always the same person.
no.
Oh, it's not like the audience doesn't know who they are, like it's an air marshal.
Nobody knows who
There's
they are.
Somebody in here.
Is it the guy in the tux with the baton?
Nobody knows who
the
they
guy with
are
the
or that
bassoon?
they're there. I forgot how I found this out. I was like freaking out when I found it out.
That's
It's
wild.
amazing.
Where's there a guy with a bassoon in the front row? I can't see over the
They
bassoon.
don't bring their musical instrument. They just sit there.
In case. Is there a musician in the house? Do
It's like a doctor.
you want me to do the last one?
No, yes, but I'm going to add one. Speaking of bassoons in the front row, what about people snoring in the front row?
Love it.
This happens
Love it. I
very
love
regularly.
it.
I don't know if
I
you're
love
aware of
it.
that.
No.
It happens regularly.
Very regularly.
And it's horrific.
As a performer, it's really fantastic.
I
As
love
an
it.
audience member, it's really upsetting.
Because you can see the front row.
Yes, I got my mother tickets to see Moon for the Misbegotten with Jason Robards and Colleen Dewhurst many years ago. She loved Jason Robards. Just before he had the accent, he had to have his face redone.
We don't know
She
him
was
anyway.
in love with Jason Robards. She thought he was the handsomest, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. So I got, and you know, Moon for the Misbegotten is one of my favorite playwrights, Eugene O'Neill. Irish playwrights are one step behind Russian playwrights in my book, okay? But I made the sacrifice because my mother loved Jason Robards. I got front row for myself. Must have been Mother's Day or his birthday. Her birthday, my mother, and my two sisters. All three of us didn't care about Jason Robards or Eugene O'Neill. But we're sitting there in the first row. The spit, when he talked, was landing on us. We could see everything. We could see Jacqueline Dewhurst. There was lipstick on her tooth. We could see everything. We're in the front row. I should have tickets like that for a Springsteen show. I would have been killed myself. But no, it was Moon for the Misbegotten. And my mother starts to snore
Oh my gosh.
so loud that I swear it was being picked up by their body mic. Every time they took a step, upstage, my mother's snoring came on their mic.
That's amazing.
Did
And
you?
we couldn't wake her up. Until the intermission, we couldn't wake her up. We kept hitting her. She just
Yeah.
went back to sleep.
It happens.
I said, how could you? She said, I like Jason Robards. I didn't say I liked that show.
Right.
Justified it.
Blame it on the Irish playwright.
That's it.
Justified it. No, I think it's really funny when people are sleeping in the front row. I don't think it's insulting. I just think it's distracting.
I don't think it's insulting. It's distracting,
But it
I
does
don't
make
think
me
it's
mad.
insulting.
It makes you mad?
No.
It's funny.
Sometimes people come to the theater, they worked all day, they rush out,
Yeah.
they get to the theater, they haven't eaten, whatever. It's been a rough week because it's a weekend now, it's like Friday night, and they are just very tired.
Yeah.
And they can't keep their eyes open. I've
Right.
fallen asleep in movies and stuff, and I was liking the movie.
Listen, it
But then you
happens.
talk a little louder. You try to get them up.
Audience members are unpredictable. Remember the Russian guy during Gatsby who came in and then just started yelling drunk like conspiracy theories in the middle of the house?
Yes, I do. That was
And
actually
had to be escorted
okay.
out
And
mid-show.
I got to
I
give
remember
credit
that.
where it's due. So,
You did.
so John, we directed that together.
Yep.
You were running sound.
Yep.
I was just sitting there watching it in the back row, probably next to you. Peggy's in the back because Peggy runs the house. We're there, and there's this guy in the house, middle of the first act, talking a little bit,
Dead center.
murmuring.
Yeah,
dead center.
Dead center, yeah.
Then just starts speaking at the top of his lungs, conspiracies and the government.
Yeah.
And I came to see Daisy, which is, be careful, because he likes
This is
daisies.
just daisies.
And I did what any self-respecting director would do. I said, Peg, you got to do something about this. I was scared. So she goes, Peggy doesn't give a shit. So she would, get him out. And he was hitting the person next to him. Remember that? He was punching somebody next to him. Somehow he got out at intermission. Then we had to call the police, and they came. And they had to escort him away. And it was wild.
Jose's sister was with me.
Right.
Yes, and
right.
we had a famous actress in the audience, of course.
And then the police were fans of hers because she's on a police procedural.
Correct.
They said, do we know you? She says, shh, I'm undercover.
Yes.
I also want to point out there's a double-edged sword here with community theater. You could say it in a positive. You could say it in a negative. We love to say it. It's community theater. It's great. Not a knock on anybody, or I don't even know who it was. I heard this rumor that a couple of our actors from that show, he was escorted out during intermission, said, we're not going back on unless he's gone.
Yeah.
And we said to them, hey, it's community theater. So, there's always a positive. You can say it in a good way, or you can say it in take it easy. It's a little bit.
Take it easy. You'll be at the diner in 2 hours.
Yeah.
All right. So the final thing here again, we totally forgot to mention theater ghosts. That's part of the game.
Right.
How do you rate people showing up late and scooching to their seats? That's when you got to scooch
Almost
down
a
into the
direct
aisle.
peg
Excuse me.
question.
You don't want my...
And you got to climb over people.
Yeah, and have you ever been that person?
I have been.
Because I know I've been to many plays with Susan Jasper, and we're late every time.
You have been that person at concerts.
And I hate it.
Me too.
When I'm going to a show in the city and I miss my timing, or I can't find the parking or whatever, sometimes I'm late.
Right.
I don't want to be, but it happens, and I hate it. I will stand in the back until there's like a break.
Right.
We were going to
what I
see
do.
Something Rotten, and Susan got a flat tire.
Oh, I
And-
remember that. And Frankie changed it.
I tried to change it, but I don't know why. Something with the jack was off or something. So we had to get AAA, and they came, and we wound up calling it a bust. Right?
Right.
Didn't go. She got tickets moved to another day. We all went the other day, and we were late. And we walked in at the end of the opening number. I never saw it. The lights were bright and on, and we had to walk in.
The opening number is the best part of the show.
As the
Yeah.
as
Well,
the
we
front of
missed it.
house person,
Yep.
I wish I didn't have to let them in. I
It
wish I
used
didn't.
to be in a Broadway theater, especially in a dramatic play.
Yeah.
If you got there late, they held you in the back. Lincoln Center always did.
Yeah.
They held you in the back, and then the usher would tell you when there was a part that they could take you to your
Right.
show.
Well, we went to that awful production of View from the Bridge, and they
Frankie's Review from the Bridge?
no,
Thank you.
and they said very specifically, if you get up to use the bathroom, you will not be allowed back in. Like
That's
you
a good way to
you
get
could
out of
not
there.
leave. I almost got up to
When
use
you
the bathroom
see
a couple of times.
Bad show.
When they started dropping buckets of blood, I was like, I gotta go. I wanted to ask you, Peggy. You have strong opinions on this. People scooching in. You're very vocal with the audience.
Oh, yeah.
I want to know, with all due respect, where the wherewithal comes from
Brazen.
to go up to a parent with a screaming child and tell the parent you have to leave or shut up your child.
Yep.
That is something I don't
I
think
don't
I
use-
have the gall to say to
or
exact
you got to get
words.
this kid
no,
out
but
of
where
here.
does it come from? How do you do that without feeling like I'm being so rude to this person?
I'm not being rude. They're being rude.
Fair, okay.
They're being rude. I'm not being rude. That's all. And if you, I mean, really, I think it's unacceptable.
Right.
Totally unacceptable.
Right. I mean, if a kid makes a little peep and you can fix it, fine.
Exactly.
But if the kid is like shouting,
No, it's
You know what?
unacceptable.
It
You have to
happens
have-
the most in kids' shows.
Right.
Because they bring the family.
The parents want to see their older kid in the show, but they have a baby. And they don't have a sitter.
I'm easier on the kid shows.
Yes, right.
right.
But in a
Because the
main
tickets
stage
cost
show,
less.
No, a main stage show, I don't accept
You're
that.
done. So, John, you're a lector at church.
Yeah, I was
How
just
do you
thinking
react
at
when the
church.
children cry when you're reading from the Lord's text?
The parent should know enough to take the kid out.
Yes.
Right.
Especially
You're hearing
during
this,
the
new
quiet
parents?
time. Not
Danielle?
while I'm
Well, I
reading.
want to see the show.
Oh, I hear it.
You've
Very
got
good.
to know that it's disrespectful to allow your child to go on and on and on talking. And if keeping it quiet doesn't work by having a nice voice, grab him by the neck and take him outside.
Sure, or
Right.
Peggy will do it
know?
for you. The
I
enforcer.
remember my first son, Johnny, was, I would say, 18 months old. 18 months old. Yeah, that's maybe 12 to 18. And he knew the sound of a bell. So at the
He was
consecration,
like a cat. He was like
Pavlov's
belling the
dog.
cat.
at the consecration, when the priest holds up the host, the altar boy usually rings the bell.
Yeah, sure.
And suddenly Johnny says, "Bell! Bell!" That's okay.
It's cute.
It was
It's cute.
cute.
It's cute.
Everybody around us said, no.
Yeah.
No. They didn't think anything of it. If he had continued talking,
Right.
but he didn't. He didn't.
Right.
But there are kids who are constantly going and running and talking the whole mass. Get them out. Get them
It's
out.
the iPad culture. They can't focus on something for a long time, like a play where you
Right.
just have to sit.
yeah, iPad
Right?
culture.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Peggy, I look forward to you yelling at my daughter.
Never.
Go upstairs, try it.
Never.
While
Yeah,
she's
she's up
young,
there
break
yelling,
her in.
try it.
Let me tell you something. The kids really respect us at the theater. They really
Yes.
respect us.
Definitely. It's not often a problem.
Never.
No.
Never. A couple of,
Yeah.
once in a while.
Rotten eggs, we call those.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm smelling?
So Frank, I usually do the wrap up. I've
Sure.
done a lot of talking this episode. I'm going to let you do the wrap up.
I liked everything
Guys,
you said, though.
thanks. You've given us everything. Go on.
So let's wrap this up. So I would like to say, on behalf of myself and John and Adele and Danielle, that the space and the world in which you all have created have allowed us to grow and thrive, and in some cases marry and make a family for Peggy to yell at in 12 years. And that is incredible. And your passion that happened way before we got involved has grown exponentially and continues to grow, and is an inclusive place where people can explore what they think they love or they know they love, and grow and learn and evolve. And you being on this show, I think, is an extension of that, because it's nice to really sit and be able to talk about it with a purpose. That we're here, we want to talk about theater, and I am grateful for you, and I think everybody here are grateful for you, especially Susan, because you didn't want to do the show and you did it.
I feel bad because it's not going to be as funny as the bus driver.
Okay, Susan
Well,
referring
John
to
Salvio, a community theater staple, still trying to make his way out to Rockaway Theatre Company. So now this is your invite. John, please join us.
So I want to say that you are far from nothing or nobodies, and in our world, you are almost everybody.
That's right.
Whoa.
That's right. So thank you guys, and let's give it up.
Thank you.
Let's give it up.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us.
Yay.
You've been watching the Nothing Podcast with Nobody Important, a cool side production with your hosts, John Panepinto and Frank Caiati. Produced by me, Danielle Rose Fisher, with contributors Tom Zaccheo, Adele Wendt, Doug Shine, Joe Hagopian, and Matt Hunt. Find us online and watch full episodes at nothing-podcast.com. And be sure to review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever fine podcasts are distributed.